Hello, good evening. I think today is Saturday evening, and yeah, so I'm now at Altawali Park. So you can see behind is like Shahid Minar. So today I'm going to ghost tour in central London with other tourists. Hopefully, today's video will be very excited because I have been planning for this tour many uh, times, but I didn't attend. So this is the first time because today I have a full day off. Even I don't have night work, so I can go and join with other tourists and uh, reveal. I mean, reveals or discover whatever uh, all the ghostly history in central London. I mean, dark history. Definitely, I can say that. So I'll keep in touch with me. I hope you will watch my full video. So I am now Walgate station. You can see the new Harriet building here, and there's a station called Walgate East. So from Walgate East to Embankment, I will take this ticket line, and yeah. So let's go in. Let's go in. So, and I will show you all the darkest history in London, especially in central London. So I'm gonna take this side. So I am now at Embankment station. So from here it will take 5 minutes walking to meeting point, I think. So I'm now outside of the Embankment station. So I have to find out the meeting point. All the way walk down, and it's like 4 minute walk. You can see the beautiful scenario on the side of the Thames River. So here I am now. Meeting point is called Cleopatra's Needles. This is the most oldest artifact in London, which is brought here from is it 18th century, like 2000 years old, I think. There's another on other end of the road, other side of the road, and you can see this is very mind-blowing artifact. So high though. Okay.
You can just about see the tippy top of the dome of Christopher Wren's Grand Triumph, St. Paul's Cathedral, over there. Millions of lives live to their fullest extent here, and the River Thames has seen this city change immeasurably. But if we'd been standing here in 1841, we'd be looking at a very different river. The river was wider in those days. There was a bridge here, where the modern day Waterloo Bridge is, that beam of light across it. But instead of double-decker buses and cars crisscrossing, we'd see horse and cart and foot traffic exclusively. It predates the foundation of Roman Londinium by 1,500 years, we believe. That makes it 3,500 years old. And astonishingly, for really old things in London, is the fact that we didn't steal it. Which is quite nice, isn't it? No, it was given to us as a gift. A gift from Muhammad Ali. Not the boxer, as I initially thought. No, someone many years before. The guy who's credited with being sort of founder of modern Egypt gave it as a gift, as a way to say thank you to the British Navy and Britain for assistance during the Napoleonic Wars. So let me take you back to the beginning, because this obelisk, this stone obelisk, was carved from the banks of the River Nile. Beside a twin sister, actually, two of them who stood as sentinels, guardians, to the entrance to a temple dedicated to the ancient Egyptian sun god Ra. during in the ancient Egyptian city of Heliopolis. Some this great storm whipped up and knocked this obelisk over, which is supposedly why her hieroglyphics are so well preserved. And then years after that, she was moved to Alexandria and acquired the name Cleopatra's Needle, despite having nothing to do with Cleopatra whatsoever. And then many years later, in the 19th century, during the reign of Queen Victoria, she was brought here. But initially, we didn't want this gift. We turned it down. It was too expensive to get it here. But after the public found out about it in the 1860s, there was an outcry. And so preparations were made to bring her all the way here. They had to build.
So these are the Cleopatra Needles is haunted place. He mentioned that I'm gonna go another place. It is so cool. So we are heading to another place.
What's beneath our feet? Anyone not from here know the answer? Want to hazard a guess? Shout out. What do you think? Catacombs is a nice idea. It's not catacombs. Not prison cells either. It's obviously related to humans, of course, but it's not. It's not dead bodies, actually. Any other guesses? It's not alive, I'll tell you that. It's a great big sewer.
What?
Underneath our feet right now.
Oh,
The
really?
question is why here and why did the Victorians do it? Well, just briefly,
That's
because
crazy.
this provides a little bit of context for some of the ghost stories that emerged from the Victorian era. In the 1840s and 1850s, London had a bit of a problem with poo. London's population had been exploding and the Industrial Revolution was in full swing. All of the excrement and effluent sounded kind of flat. All of the excrement and effluents had to go somewhere. Now, for millennia, London's toilet had been the River Thames. It's a treacherous river. One of the reasons it's so treacherous is it's tidal. It's got a very large tidal range. It flushes itself, essentially. Everything goes out to sea, out of sight, out of mind. But for one reason or another, in 1858, it wasn't working. That was the year of the big stink, or the great stink. All of this poo just floated on the surface and mixed with the smog, the smoke of industry, and hung in this putrid, stinking miasma over central London. People tried to fix up their doors and windows to stop it coming in, but they had to go outside and breathe it eventually. Finally, when this miasma was hanging in the House of Commons, just on the Big Ben over there, as debates were being conducted in the chamber, enough was enough. The politicians are annoyed, that's it, it's gone too far. So the politicians stepped up and tried to do. Allow me to introduce you to one of the saviours of London, Sir Joseph Bazalgette, whose radical idea involved narrowing the River Thames in this central area quite substantially and building two super sewers, one on this side and one on the other side, to, well, get rid of all the poo. It was fabulously expensive, but it worked. And Sir Joseph was credited with saving potentially tens of thousands of lives, people who were being choked up and experiencing sort of respiratory distress from inhaling this miasma. In any
So we are heading another place.
So sometimes this street is nice and quiet, and sometimes it's got loads of buses on it. Anyone spotted the street we've made our way onto here? Yeah, Rick Scott Police Hall. Now a fancy 5-star hotel. But we're going to talk a little bit of true crimes here, and this story is quite upsetting. There's some details that are quite unpleasant. So if you'd rather not hear it and want to go around the corner and have but when we start talking about serial killers in the Victorian era, the name that usually springs to mind is Jack the Ripper. You may not realise is that 7 years before 1888, there was another serial killer operating in and around this case. It doesn't get as much attention as Jack the Ripper. And there are reasons for that I'll expound upon later on. But the story takes us back to 1874. Further east, Laredo, further down the river, a police patrol notices some children throwing stones. The police encourage the children away and fish out the package. Unwrap it. To their horror, they discover inside the left side of a woman's dismembered torso. Thames torso murderer was born. Over the course of 5 canonical victims. And for a while, people assumed, quite understandably, that the Thames torso murderer was Jack the Ripper. They were doing the same thing. But the MO was slightly different. Thames torso murderer seemed to have a more detailed anatomical knowledge than Jack the Ripper, who would slash his victims and genitally mutilate. Thames torso murderer seemed to be more dissecting, for want of a better word. Perhaps a barber, someone used to using blades. Perhaps it's just something as innocuous as medical students stealing cadavers from their...
So I'm heading another place. I mean, we are heading another place. So I'm not record all of them because problem is that when he describe any history, it's very hard to record in front of him, you know, because most of the listening. So I'm gonna record a little bit.
I don't know, but I've seen it.
Oh, we're going inside now. That's good. Wow.
Far from where we're standing right now, in front of 2 of his children, aged 9 and 11. The man lost his life that day, but his job died with him, albeit for a period of about 10 years. The man's name was Charles Stewart. Anyone know what his job was? And I say it was a few years ago, it's quite a few years ago. We're talking the 1640s. He was the King of England, essentially. Hopefully for a moment, you were put in the shoes of people who sort of witnessed it and felt much closer to home. Because the route that we've just been walking, had we been walking at any point between the 14th century and the end of the 17th century, we would have been inside the royal palace of Whitehall, or Whitehall Palace. It gave its name to this street, Whitehall. There's only a tiny bits that remain of that sprawl in the palace. And we're looking at one of them, the banqueting house, Charles II's banqueting house, occupies the left side of the street. And it was from that building, in 1649, that Charles I stamped a wooden plaque in line with the story. And he was greeted by, it's underneath the number 10, the minute 10 past 2. Now the king was supposed to be executed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock prompt. But he decided to speak for 10 minutes, which is why that point is marked at 10 past 2 rather than 2 o'clock. Commemorates the time that we chopped off the king's head. The frustrating thing is, we have no idea what the king said in those 10 minutes because he spoke so quietly, no one heard it. Isn't that frustrating? But it's wild now that we're living in the third reign of a king called Charles. I sort of spent a bit of time imagining what must that have been like to witness the king, the person who's on the money, the person who's the head of the church, emerge from that building and meet his maker. It's extraordinary. Let's head through here. This is Horse Guard. You can smell the horse. From this point onwards, the things start to get a little bit darker. Hopefully,
Wow. Oh, that's it. Oh, there's the water. Wow.
mentioned at the beginning, I need to take a group of the King's birthday. Infantry parade is celebrated on the third Saturday. You go past what is potentially the most, most sinister residence in all of London. It's just over there. You can see it shrouded in darkness, a few lights on. Anyone want to guess who lives over there if you're not from here? Exactly right. That's number 10 Downing Street over there.
Okay.
Terrifying place.
Prime Minister.
So Keir Starmer's residence is somewhere nestled in there. Is anyone watching Severance at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm slightly obsessed with the fact that we've got Keir. There's this sinister, shadowy figure in this TV. So why am I talking about this? In Apple TV Severance. And he's called Keir. Now we've got a Prime Minister called Keir. Praise Keir. Just be aware that we're crossing a road here, sometimes just without lights. It's darkness.
This looks so spooky. Wow.
This is land once owned by the monks of Westminster Abbey. Oh, look, you can see it's illuminated there. There. Westminster Abbey just over there. But it was Henry VIII, the king with 6 wives, who changed all that, dissolved the monastery, took all of this land for himself. It became his hunting ground. But it was closer to the reign of King Charles I, actually, when the first prominent ghost story starts to emerge from this park. The story of the Red Lady. The story begins with an unknown soldier, a nameless soldier. This is back in 1651. The soldier, we're told, has fallen madly, passionately in love with a socialite. A young woman whose business it is to travel to fancy parties across the land. But as she starts to attend more and more parties, and they spend more and more time apart, the soldier becomes obsessed with this idea that she's being unfaithful to him. It becomes green with jealousy and envy, and eventually he can bear it no more. He starts to decide to take matters into his own hands. He invites his once beloved for another picnic in St. James's Park, but this time instead of cakes and sandwiches, so goes the story, he's packed knives and ropes. He hides behind the largest tree, calls out her name, and then leaps from behind it, stabbing her repeatedly, turning her white dress blood red, before attempting to decapitate her, and then being spooked by soldiers and dumping her body in this pond.
Oh.
Ever since those events, they say, the Red Lady has appeared to people. Typically, a sighting of the Red Lady is preceded with bubbles appearing on the surface of this pond, or the woman herself emerges crawling out of this pond, black head draped across her face, blood still. Well, I mean, they look more like swans than peacocks, I'd say, but no, they're pelicans. There are six pink pelicans that live in this park, and they've been here since the 1660s.
Wow.
Not the same birds. Get new ones every few years. Their wings are clipped, so they can't go far, and they're fed every day, but they will eat pretty much anything you put in front of them, including other birds. Pigeons and moorhens have been seen disappearing inside their cavernous beaks. It's pretty grim stuff. You can find these videos on YouTube if you're interested. I am, so I've watched all of them. Anyway, that's not why we're here. There's another story that relates to this park. It's more in the sort of true crime vein of things. You see, 100 years before Jack the Ripper, Londoners lived in fear of an attack by a figure known as the London Monster. In fact, during a 2-year period between 1788 and 1789, around 50 women in and around this park were attacked, some in broad daylight, by this mystery figure. Most women described a tall, swarthy gentleman. Some would say he had flashing red eyes, and typically an attack by the London Monster would follow the same pattern. This man would be carrying a bouquet of flowers, and he would insult or compliment a passing woman. And then as she approached, he would shove this bouquet of flowers in her face, and then as she turned to flee, he would kick her or knee her in the bottom for good measure. And it sounds initially almost comical, until you learn that both the bouquet of flowers and the man's knees and boots held concealed blades in the flowers. So these women were getting pretty seriously injured. In fact, the only people that didn't live in fear of an attack by the London Monster were London's pickpockets. These young sort of gangs of pickpockets would roam the streets and accuse innocent passers-by as being the London Monster, shouting, "Monster, monster!" And as other people came in to rip them to shreds, they would pick the pockets of all those people. This story goes somewhere, fortunately. Step forward just a little bit. That's it. Right. Significant buildings in British history. This is St James's Palace. It was built on the site of an old leper hospital. That's where the name comes from, St James the Less Leper Hospital. St James the Less was supposedly Christ's cousin. Who knew? But the ground was flattened, and the burial ground, which was somewhere beyond this palace, lost. The ground was flattened, the building raised by a king who changed the course of English history, Henry VIII, who executed 2 of his wives. Their ghosts don't roam this building. They're said to lurk in the Tower of London. But the most sinister night to befall this palace occurred much more recently, actually, in 1810. In the summer of 1810, about 2 o'clock in the morning, the royal household is awoken by the blood-curdling screams of a man. Ernest Augustus, the Duke of Cumberland, has been attacked in his bedroom, and he's screaming the house down, shouting, "I am murdered!" In actuality, he was a great big crybaby because he lived to tell the tale. But his footmen attend him in his bedchamber, and they see their boss in a horrifying state. He's covered in cuts and bruises on his arms, and he's got a great big gash on the top of his head. The Duke explains that a mystery assailant entered his bedroom, and using the Duke's own sword, which was nearby, he tried to kill the Duke. The Duke puts up his arms to defend himself, suffers all these wounds to his arms, and then gets hit over the head. In some reports, we're told that this wound was so deep you could see his brain, which is extraordinary if true. And then the Duke manages to wriggle free, makes his way over to his bedchamber door, opens it, gets stabbed in the back of the left thigh, really deep wound that takes several months to heal, and then screams the house down. When he turns back, the assailant is nowhere to be found.
So now we're hitting our final stop. This St. James Mission is our last stop, last location, I think. No, I think it's before last, I think.
House, 1820s building attached to St James's Palace, and it's where the King and Queen live. Despite Buckingham Palace being the official residence, they spend most of their time here. Usually go out the other side, but that's why that's all looks a bit serious up there. But let me take you around here. We're looking at a green park. It's entirely lit by early 20th century gas lamps, which is rather fabulous. It's like stepping back into the Victorian era. Great. It looks like there might be little electric light bulbs, but they're gas, trust me. It's great. There are numerous little stories that relate to Green Park. We're standing on a pathway that is frequented by the Green Lady, the Red Lady of St James's Park. People spotted a Green Lady walking up and down this park. Speculation is that she was sometime mistress of King Charles II. Was about to tell the papers about their exploits and was silenced by the king once and for all, and is still here sort of roaming, seeking vengeance, if you like. Green Park has huge history. In fact, a little further up this slope you'll find Green Park Station, and then when they were digging down, building that station, they unearthed not only a plague pit, but also a Roman burial ground here. We also know that the burial ground of the leper hospital, St James the Leper Hospital, was somewhere here under this grass. So it's entirely possible that there are thousands of bodies that we've yet to discover underneath this grass here. If you stay here long enough, you may hear one or two fragmentary tales. You may hear the story of the pig-faced woman, a rather misogynistic story that emerges from the Victorian era. A wealthy couple give birth to a horribly disfigured baby girl who has the face of a pig but the body of a woman. They try to keep her a secret, keeping her locked away, but soon the child gets older and starts to roam, wearing a black bonnet to conceal her face, and attacking innocent young men in this park, gnawing off their faces and then leaving their lifeless bodies at the foot of one of the trees in this park, a tree which becomes known as the Death Tree. You may also hear the story of the Phantom Fiddler, a story laid down in print by one of the great ghost writers of the 20th century, Elliot O'Donnell. Now, make of these stories what you will. I'm a big old skeptic, but most ghost stories start with, I don't believe in ghosts, but these stories have been handed down through generations, and they function differently for different generations, in fact. For the Victorians, they functioned quite powerfully as memento mori, reminders of death, like an injunction from the past, a hand reaching out from beyond the grave, grabbing us by the scruff of our necks, imploring us to make the most of the time that we have left. And with
So I'm gonna finish my video here. So our walking tour, ghost walking tour, end here in Green Park. Green Park is a very notorious history. If you go to Google, you can find out. So I think you like this walking ghost tour. London walking ghost tour video. See you next time with another walking tour with another tour guide. Though I did not video details because recording video in front of his is not. It's very maybe he feel embarrassing, but he did not mention that though. So wish you have a good weekend and see you next time.